फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया।
Friends, a very good morning to all of you. I welcome and thank you all for participating on the Investor Advantage session on this Thursday morning. I am Sonya Chowdhry, Managing Director at Franchise India. And friends, Franchise India is Start Your Own Business Specialist. And this session is about starting your own business. And India largely and very fondly, has been called a shopkeeper nation, where we have every home which has an aspiration of starting, owning a business at some point of time in their lives. And this was the premise, or I would say the foundation of our company, Franchise India. And being an investor-centric, franchise-focused company, Franchise India has been working all these years to make every Indian self-reliant through entrepreneurship. And democratization of entrepreneurship is the very, I would say, mission at which Franchise India and all its teams across India are working towards. So when I say democratization of entrepreneurship, it means that we want to make entrepreneurship accessible to everyone. But there's also a difference. While we want to make it accessible to everyone, at the same time, we also want to educate investors, business buyers who want to take up a business. So this was the foundation of our company. And I would also go on to say, as a part of our growing up years and also maybe our parents and maybe the generation before, business, starting a business was largely not an option with most of us. And I would say, a mere thought or a mindset was also not there. And our minds were more conditioned to take up jobs. And maybe, if I go 20 years back, it was more conditioned to take maybe a government job, which is the highest conscious thought one could actually make or aspire for. But the last 15 odd years, I would say largely, 15 years, things have actually started to change. And many reasons, why that has started to also happen. Now, when I say India is a very big opportunity where everybody wanted to start a business, but there was no platform to help them understand the opportunities, options available. And also, education, which was something which even today people don't have what is right for them. While they explore a lot of brands outside through platforms, through exhibition events, but still they're not able to make up their mind because the information which is passed on is very, very big. Sometimes it is overwhelming for somebody to even narrow down what business is right. So in a country like India, where we have nearly 1 million brokers in real estate, 1 million brokers in stock investment, even today, there are not that number of advisors who can help people to start a business. So where the demand is very, very big. Now, looking at the situation in smaller cities, right? So maybe bigger cities like Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay would still have jobs which are high-paying job opportunities for somebody who wants to maybe, do something. But when you go to smaller cities, they don't have a high-paying job opportunity. And franchising comes as a very, very big rescue, right? So when you look at today's ecosystem of startups, also nearly 49% of startups today are coming from tier 2 and tier 3 locations, which itself becomes a big validation of the spirit and potential of entrepreneurship which sits in a country like India. So, friends, I like and request you all if we can make the session interactive as much as we can know about you, your interest, any specific interest in an industry or a sub-industry or a category. If you're already exploring some brands, spoken to some businesses already, I would be more than happy to understand and help you, based on at what stage of exploration you are, at what stage of buying the business you are. So I'll ask some questions as I, go in this phase the next 45 odd minutes of our course of webinar. But I'll give a little introduction also about our company, which is Franchise India. So we are a 25-year-old enterprise, which started with one big vision, like I said, entrepreneurship. And that's what we're working all these 25 odd years. And our platform has been helping prospective franchisees like you to research opportunities through our media platform, where we have nearly 16,000 companies listed on the franchiseindia.com page. We do every month exhibitions, and these exhibitions are large exhibitions, about 120 big exhibitions we do across India, where the biggest happens in Pragati Maidan. We bring about 40,000 investors, business buyers who come to this exhibition, and nearly 600 companies from across the country and also international brands come to exhibit their opportunity. So our platform has been working to research opportunities. Second, we also work with the business buyers to evaluate the business options. So one is obviously information that comes to you. Second is evaluation, how do we evaluate what opportunity is right? And third is also learning, which is becoming very, very big. So only if you're equipped with knowledge and understanding you're able to take a responsible decision in buying a business. So millions of buyers have actually trusted the platform of Franchise India, research these opportunities from a unit franchisee, multi-unit, area, master for many international brands and also Indian brands. At the same time, I would also say we also had the privilege of working directly with more than 1 lakh investors. So while I say million people would have taken business, when I say people would have taken business, they came to the website or our exhibition, maybe through the magazine, interacted directly with the brand, took the business. But I also had a big chunk of, investors or business buyers who actually wanted a guided solution. They knew the opportunities existed, but they wanted somebody who could advise them, equip them with knowledge, the experience, expertise, and maybe handhold through the entire process of buying a business. And that's where the Investor Advantage program was built, where how an investor can be an advantage of buying a business, the due diligence that he needs to do, and also the assessment which he must undertake before getting into a business. Right. And we also understand franchise, or I would say entrepreneur journey is not very easy. It requires a lot of planning, and planning is around your finances. Planning is also around your timeline. So a lot of nuances of getting into business and starting this journey is something which one has to be very, very carefully working upon. And on the other side, Franchise India, as a consultant also, we carry a huge responsibility in helping you in making that right decision and informed decision. So when I say right and informed decision, I would not push you to and say this brand is great, go ahead and sign up a check for them. But we give you enough information so that your information education on that brand increases and it equips you to take that right decision. So while I will also say sometimes it might look like how do we bring the accuracy and fitment, what is right for me. So we have a tried and tested structure where we equip our partners in terms of what choice of brand one must look at. Financial expectation is something that is considered. Commercial terms is something which is considered. And most of all, what we do is a bigger emphasis that we play on risk reduction. And that is one area, I would say, a very big value addition is done by consultants. And reducing risk in the investment, which I would say is a mix of a lot of things, which is CapEx planning, your operational forecast, competition analysis, support from the company, the trademark, IP rights, the legal terms, and most importantly, how do I exit? All that is something that our teams, our advisors work with you end to end, right from the time selection of the brand to the time you want to meet, evaluate what is right, to the time you want to sign an LOI, an agreement with the company. All these 4 stages are something which our teams handhold and work with our investors, I would say. So friends, before I get started, I'll also request, I see quite an audience which has joined in, and I'll start with making this interactive. If you have any questions which I have not even asked and you want to answer or you want to know, please go ahead and start writing in the Q&A box you see at the bottom, and I'll write to read out your names with your city. So 3 things which I would like to know. First and foremost, starting anything in your life which is important, and starting a business is something which we don't do every day, right? And it's just not a decision which I would want to take maybe even every year. This might be a once in a lifetime decision for you, maybe 2 times, maybe 3 times, but not more than that, right? And it requires a lot of planning, like I said. So my first question, friends, to all of you is, what is your timeline of starting a business? Aap kitne time mein business shuru karna chahte hain? Is the timeline immediate? I meet a lot of people who say, I want to start a business immediately. I've already explored some opportunities. I have a property. So I don't know where, actually at stage of buying a business you are. So I'd like to know, when do you want to start a business? Is it immediate, 15 days time, maybe a month time, 2 months time, 3 months time, whatever the time frame for you is, please go ahead and write that. Second, I would also like to know your city of interest. Which city are you from? Where do you want to put up the business? And third, I would also like to know your area in terms of the industry or the subcategory. So even if you say, for example, retail, right? So when I say retail, what is it? Are you looking at a telecom? You're looking at maybe apparel, you're looking at footwear. So if you're looking at education, it is preschool, K-12, looking at services. So you can go even deeper in segregating what category you are keen. Friends, I see some hands also being raised. I'll request if you can write in the chat box. You can see the chat box, Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Q&A box bana hua hai. Aap sab us pe likh sakte hain. So 3 things which I want to know. Okay, great. Welcome, Hardeepak ji. I'll take up your question. So Hardeepak ji is from Ludhiana, Punjab. And his question is Coco the safest model with steady, although less income return? So Hardeepak ji, I think one thing which I want to, so Coco means a company owned, company operated. So which means there is no requirement for anybody coming in. So company owns the outlet and company operates the outlet. So there is no other partner. So COCO model is that. So when you say, if you can maybe explain that further, franchisee on franchisee operated model is the most prevalent model, where franchisee would own the complete business. He makes the investment, and he also would be part and parcel of everyday administration operations of that outlet. And I don't know if your question was franchisee owned company operated. I don't know if that was your question. So maybe you can elaborate that, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And others keep writing. If you can mention aapka timeline kya hai, when do you want to start your business? Is there a timeline in your mind? Because that to me is the most important aspect. Somebody who does not have a timeline is somebody who's clueless, right? So if you don't have a timeline, that is very tricky. So प्लीज पुट आपका टाइमलाइन क्या है, कितने टाइम में आप इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं बिजनेस में, इंडस्ट्री या कैटेगरी कौन सा है आपका जिसमें इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, एंड विच सिटी आर यू लुकिंग फॉर. And also I'll ask if somebody already in running a business or you're a professional working or running a franchise business, please go ahead and write. So keep writing, friends, and I'll keep reading with your names and your interest. Let's make it interactive. This session is not about me. It's more about you. So if I understand what your requirements are, we can make the best of the next 30 to 45 minutes that we have at hand. So write in. And before I start the presentation, friends, I'll also give a perspective on franchising at large and why franchising, right? Why people look at franchising. Now, today, when we look at franchising, franchising is a very big impact market. When I say it's a very big impact market, it is creating a big impact because it is touching almost everything I am consuming today, you're consuming today. Everything which consumers are consuming today is coming from a franchised business. And you can even think of categories, industries. आप जो रोज कंज्यूम करते हैं, आप किराना लेके आते हैं, वो एक फ्रेंचाइज स्टोर से आता है. आपका स्कूल जहाँ पे बच्चा जाता है, comes from a franchised center. The hospitals we go to, the hotels that we go to, maybe the salon nearby, the gym that you go to, even for that matter, your services, laundry jahan pe aap karate hain, you give your laundry comes from a franchise business, right? So even the outlet, the services, hyper local, jitne bhi aapke quick commerce hai, Zomato ho gaya, Zepto ho gaya, ye sab franchise karte hain. So today every service or a product, aap dono mein se kuch bhi consume karte hain, ye most likely, comes from a franchise outlet. So it is consuming, it is rather touching everything that we consume today. And franchise cuts across every industry. And we all know that successful franchise companies and businesses, अगर हम food की बात करते हैं, retail की बात करते हैं, wellness की बात करते हैं, gyms की बात करते हैं, you've seen successful businesses operating out of all these industries. Now, when we look at the size of the industry globally, this is very, very huge. If I talk about system sales alone, this is about $4.5 trillion industry globally, which is very big, right? It is even bigger than the GDP of our country, which is India. And India is today the second largest franchise market in the world after America, right? And the last 10 years have actually witnessed a very, very big growth in franchising. Today, this is close to about $80 billion ka India ka size hai franchising ka. And every year, this business industry is growing at almost about 35 to 40%. And a majority of this growth, I would say, is attributed to a lot of professionals who are coming into business and a lot of first-time business buyers. Almost 40% of the community today, which is getting into franchising by businesses, are people who are getting in this business for the very first time. And overall, about 2% of our GDP comes from franchise business. And as we all agree, today our environments are becoming branded. Everything which I'm consuming comes from branded outlet, from the spectacles we use, from the clothes that we wear, from the watch which I wear, from the shoes I wear, all that is branded today, right? So, and as you move from unorganized to organized, the share of GDP is going to increase. And when the share increases, the share of franchising will also increase. So I'll take some questions, friends. You keep writing in, and I also request, Harshika, can we have the presentation put on the screen? So Jitendra ji, welcome. You say I'm from Hyderabad. First, I need to understand the business concepts. What are the requirements and how it helps me in growing the business, and what business suits me to be run? And your timeline is 2 to 3 months to get started. Great, Jitendra ji, a very valid question. And some part of what you want to know, I would be able to cover in this seminar and webinar rather. And I will also request, friends, Franchise India has its presence in about 90 cities in India. When I say presence, while we are reaching digitally we are there everywhere, but 9 cities, I would have my own local teams in these markets whom you can go and meet. They can come and meet with you. You can be invited to our office or vice versa. We're more than happy to have maybe a brainstorm session to help you understand. Pragati ji, welcome. You're from Pune. You want to start something in HR consultancy in Pune. Welcome, Pragati ji. We should be able to help you in this. And there are many companies in this category which are into franchising. And we also have Mr. Maqsood Bhatt from Bombay. You're getting ready for franchise setup. It's a food outlet. How is it to buy a ready franchise? I'm planning to start in this month. Maqsood ji, we should speak to each other. One thing, friends, and Maqsood ji, you brought it up. Franchise India also has a resales or a business X is a separate company in our company where we also work with the entrepreneurs who want to buy an existing business, right? So if you want to buy an existing business, we can help you buy one. So if we can speak offline, Maqsood ji, I have my teams which are based out of Bombay. We sit out of Technopolis Park in Andheri. So somebody can maybe meet with you. Maybe after the webinar, we can connect with you and fix up a time to discuss that. And Deepak ji, you're from a non-business background, 6 months. So I heard COCO model is safest where you just have. So Deepak ji, it is not company owned, company operated. That is franchisee owned, company operated, right? So wherein you would own, but company would do all the operations. You bring in the investment, you bring in the property, and company takes care of the operations. But this is not very, very prevalent, you know. And this is not prevalent in all formats and businesses. Typically, companies who do a FOCO model are companies which need one big fitment, and that fitment is finance. For example, Tim Hortons has come to India. They're not into franchising, the traditional franchise model, but they partner with people who come with the strategic, benefit. When I say strategic, if you have a good real estate in a high street or a mall where the brand wants to open, they would be more than happy to partner you, right? So there are companies who would get you as a partner if you have that strategic, bandwidth. Or a location which can be considered where investment still remains with you. Investment in the entire infrastructure has to be done by you, and company takes care of operations, and they can give you a revenue share. Even Tata Chroma, they do a franchisee and company operated model, and for that matter, Chroma runs more than 200 locations across India. They can even transfer that location to a franchisee. You would know what sales the company is doing. And a revenue share is something which the franchise partner gets every month. Every operating expense in case of Chroma is done by them. You just get a pure revenue share on the investment that you do. All right, great. So I see more interest coming in. Okay, I also see Mr. Srinivasanji looking for HR recruitment business. Absolutely, Srinivasanji, we can work on this. And we also have one of our friends from Tamil Nadu, Mr. Kanadasan. Looking for a business, especially in the financial product like loans, insurance. Absolutely, sir, we have an opportunity that we can discuss. So, and all the segments, at Franchise India, we work with nearly more than 10,000 companies. So when I say I work with them, all of these companies, even on the website of Franchise India, you find many opportunities. Apart from that, we launch one new brand every day, which is getting into franchising. So every day, 12 o'clock, we have webinar where we bring in a new opportunity. For example, today there's an opportunity called microgravity. These are gaming centers. Somebody who comes with maybe a real estate play can open these centers. If you have a location where these gaming centers can be put, you can do that. So every day we launch one new opportunity. So on an average, 1 year would have almost about 500 new brands that we get into franchising, and we present these opportunities to all our investors who can consider. So I'll take you these through these assessment tools, so which we recommend every business buyer to take into consideration before starting a business. And these assessment tools is where our team at Franchise India also consults and handholds you. So I'll explain you all these tools, and these assessment tools include your self-assessment, because everything that you want to do starts with your own self. What you want to achieve out of that investment that you want to do. And second is the market that you want to go in is the assessment. There's a patch, Shika, which I see on the screen. I don't know, my viewers are also seeing, but I see some content missing. Yeah. Second is the industry assessment. So industry that you want to get in, how do you assess whether that's right? Then is peer assessment, competition around. You don't just like one brand and take a franchisee. So you also assess what the competition is offering. And lastly is the assessment of the brand that you have selected. So these are 5 assessment tools that we have created. We go on the next slide, please. And under these assessment tools, we've also created 25 points, so, and almost everything that comes to your mind, you want to know about the opportunity, the brand would almost be covered under these 25 points. And to make it even simpler for you to analyze, how do I know whether that opportunity which I have perhaps surveyed or explored is right for me? So we created a criteria where out of these 25 points, if you achieve 20 or more, the opportunity is excellent. If your number is less than 20, but more than 15, good. But if your overall count of these 25, tick marks is less than 15, we do not advise you to go ahead. Maybe rework and understand where you did not fare well. It could be the brand itself. Maybe you fared lowest in the brand assessment. It could be the market assessment of the brand that you want to get in. It could be a combination of 2 or 3 assessment tools also. And I'll quickly explain all these 25 points to everyone. So starting with self-assessments, I have always maintained this is the most crucial part and most valuable for any aspiring entrepreneur who wants to start a business. You need to look at your own traits, personal traits, your skills to run a business, your experience that you carry. When I say experience, does not mean you have to have experience of running a business. You can be professional, right? But what experience is it complementing to what you are doing in your maybe your professional life or maybe your education? And then is obviously knowledge, your investment appetite, and most importantly, your ability to meet the challenge of running and operating a business is something that you have to assess at your end, and which comes with your first thing, which is your own mindset of entrepreneurial mindset, as we call that, where you need to align 2 goals: the business goal and your life goals, right? What you want achievement out of the business that you want to get in, and what are the life goals? Now, are these business goals and life goals aligned to each other? Very, very important. So this is a stage where you discover what you want. And only when your life goals and business goals are aligned, you would go to the next step of, finalizing and understanding opportunities that exist. Second is your financial goal. Now, any investment that we do, comes with thought process of what I want to achieve out of that investment. And now different asset classes are categorized only on 3 fundamental goals of investment. Now, 3 fundamental goals of investment are safety, right? Safety means I'm looking at my money to be safe, maybe not too much of sweating of money. So I want safety. Second is income, which means you also want to generate some extra income out of the investment you want to do. Third is growth. You want to put your money in something which can give you very high growth, right? Or maybe high return. So when I say safety, income, and growth, it is also proportionate to risk that I'm taking. It is proportionate to risk and return, 2 elements. So if I talk about safety, I'm also looking at business which will come with the low risk, but equally low returns on the business. If I look at income, right? One of our friends said, I want to look at a format where I don't have too much of risk and, involvement. So all these have, proportionate risk and return awards. Income would come with moderate risk, moderate return. Growth will come with moderate, with high risk and high rewards. So that is the equation in businesses, which you should calculate when you are kind of evaluating the businesses. So you come with a safety mindset, income mindset, growth mindset. And based on that, our teams advise you what businesses would be very close to, these 3 investment goals. Third is your capital, which you want to put in. And we always advise, and this is something we tell more and more, not to leverage yourself too much on loans. And at least, even if you have to bring at least 50% of your own capital in the business, if not more, at least 50% bring your own capital. 50% you can still take a loan, but understand what your liabilities are. And that is very important to understand, because the cost of capital, जो interest आपको business पे देना पड़ता है, आप जो लेते हैं loan, वो कई बार बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है. And that sometimes, makes your business unviable. While the business itself is great, but your loan cost is sometimes very huge for you to, break even or get, more leverage. So understand that fitment for yourself. And at least you should have a runway for the first 6 months of working capital. So that's the area. Then obviously is your time involvement. And I'm going back again, if you look at franchising, the most prevalent model is franchisee and franchisee operated model. And this is because the efficiency in a unit level comes only when an owner is sitting and operating. And FOCO models are also an option, like I mentioned, but not every company gives a FOCO model. FOCO model is done either when the company is an international brand and they're entering India. They want maybe a strategic partner who can come either with the finance to be put in, and it could be the property which they bring in. And the reason is the experience, the sensitivity which is attached with the brand. They don't want to pass on that to an investor. The second reason is a lot of companies where the operations are complex. For example, Tata, which runs promo stores, there are many, it's a huge, SKU, about 8,000 is the area of the store, huge SKUs. And the company is very sensitive about how the experience with their customer would be. So they do it in a manner where the investment done by the investor, but the entire experience of the outlet operations, everything is taken care by the company. And the third reason is where maybe the brand is new and they do not want that to be given to a franchisee unless, it is proven. So it can be a go-to-market strategy also for many companies, right? So that's how they do it. Third area is assessment of an industry. How do you assess the industry, right? So which means that what are the underlying factors that you must consider to estimate the success of that particular brand in that industry. Industries can be great, but why that particular brand would be great in that industry? So what you look at is obviously how big the opportunity is. Is it overcrowded? Is it a commodity? Is it something which can give you a first mover advantage in your market? So all these are things which are important to be considered. You need to look at a growth prospect. What are the horizon? Is it opportunity which is going to be prevalent, relevant in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Very important, right? So, and then is obviously demand and supply. What is the demand of that opportunity or maybe that product or a service in your market? Who are the suppliers, right? So when I say supply and demand gap, it does not mean if I have 5 salons in my location, I cannot get a 6th salon. There might be a gap in the service, right? There might be a gap in the product. So even sometimes there are many suppliers, you still need to find that gap, which could be technology, which could be a solution, which could be a product, pricing, whatever that gap may be, and see if the brand you have shortlisted can fulfill that, particular gap. And then obviously innovation, which is important. We need to have looking at businesses which are continuously innovating because any business which is not innovating 5 साल में 10 साल में वैसे ही वो बंद हो जाएगा. So you need to look at businesses which are serving that need and they're staying relevant with the end consumer. Market assessment is where you need to look at couple of things because not every market sometimes is right for an opportunity. Even when a new business comes in, sometimes they even assess what markets they want to go in because they want to look at markets which are ripe, right? I know maybe my bigger audience sits in these markets. So that's how also industries, companies also analyze what markets they want to get in. But equally from the investor perspective, your own business buying assessment, you need to look at one, at what stage the business is, is it at a incubation stage, startup stage pe hai, is it at a growth stage or is it at a scale stage? So depending on the stage, stage of that particular business, you can ascertain, your market readiness to accept that business. And second could also be, understanding the industry, how the industry is moving. Sometimes receptiveness of that industry is maybe less in few markets, more in few markets. If you look at electric vehicle, you see the adoption in certain states is very, very high compared to some other states. So look at these considerations. And also two other important elements I would say is regulation. Now every industry have regulation which is state subject, center subject. Aapka drug license, pharmacy ki requirement, every state has their guidelines. Liquor license would have their own guidelines. Electric vehicle, policy, every state would get their own guidelines. So understand, what your state guidelines talk about that category, that industry. Right. And then obviously is location that you want to select where first and foremost you need to look at thumb rule, which works well is where is your competition in that market. And if your competition is there, look at maybe 1 or 2 competition. जो भी आपको nearest competition लगता है, उसको आप देखिए कहाँ पे है present. And उन locations maybe you have 2 brands you have selected, which is nearest competition, and they're operating in say 15 locations. Out of these 15 locations, figure out कौन से ऐसे top 3 locations हैं, 4 locations जहाँ पे इनका business सबसे best है. Maybe the revenue, the performance is great. And look at these spots. If you think these are 3 locations which are doing best for the brand, open your outlet next to them. That's a thumb rule that works in majority of the cases. Right? It does not need too much of due diligence because that has already been done by the competition and they're sustaining, doing well and being successful. Then comes the competition where you need to look at a couple of things. What advantage do I have vis-a-vis the other companies? The performance of the brand, because penetration and performance are 2 different things. A brand can have a bigger penetration, but not that all their outlets are performing well. So even for that matter, it does not mean that a company which has only few outlets might not be a better choice than a company which has more outlets. So this is no criteria. Today, a lot of companies which you see, people are asking us, I get a lot of requirements for companies which never existed maybe 3 years back, 4 years back, right? So penetration, performance, age of the company today is no matter, कितने साल पुरानी company अभी आई है, नई है, पुरानी, कोई importance नहीं रखती. We need to look at systems, processes, how innovative these companies are. Their stickiness to their franchisees, stickiness to their customer, all that is something which is becoming a bigger criteria for success, I would say. You need to look at how their product is different to the product of the competition or the brand that you have selected. Now, product can be one aspect, solution can be another aspect, maybe the service which the company is giving can be one aspect. So understand, how they are differentiating, because some companies might have a great go-to-market. Yesterday, this is not formally launched, but I'm telling everybody, we have recently launched a brand called Lux On. That's a advertisement you might have seen on various mediums. So while Lux goes on a distribution model, they have distribution across India. They have come up with their brand called On, and they're already operating exclusive outlets. So On gets into only exclusive branded outlets. So small area of 200 to 300 square feet is needed. And if I compare the opportunity which On is giving compared to the other innerwear athleisure brands, it is very, very attractive, which comes at maybe just a small investment of 3 lakhs for interiors, another 6 lakhs, which is towards a stock. And they give the entire correction on the stock. And against a franchise fees of 99,000, companies invest almost 2 to 3 times, which is local advertisement, and ad in the newspaper, some signages which they do. So every company would have a different, strategy for going to market, or, making it more attractive, both for their partners and end consumers. Understand what is the differentiation. Then is finally the brand assessment. How do you assess what brand is right? So a couple of things which, I would say, one obviously is to understand, maybe if you can speak to some of the existing franchisees, take a feedback from them, but don't solely go on the feedback of franchisees. A lot of times I've seen myself where franchisee would not speak good, but they still be sticking and running the business, for various reasons. Aapko franchisee nahi dena hai, royalty nahi dena, they will find reasons not to do that. But understand how many franchisees have been staying in the system on an average. If somebody is completing the entire 5 years, what is that percentage for them? Is it 40, 50, 80, 90? Agar wo 15-20% kam hai, no problem, because natural churn aapka hota hai, right? So, but if the percentage is more, then it is something to be discussed and spoken about. The other area is, how many of them would run also multiple units? A lot of companies I work with, last month in February, we launched a brand called the New Shop, right? This is a big opportunity today, convenience retail. I get a lot of inquiries for this segment. And in the last 1 month alone, 112 franchisees have been signed by us. It is not a small, number. Just imagine in a span of 28 days of February and about, say, 15 days of March. In these many days, 112 franchisees have been sold, through a multi-unit or a master franchisee, area franchisees for various reasons. So understand, because some people have already taken one, they like the performance, and they take the second and the third unit, the opportunity is big. So what you need to also look at is a couple of more things, which is, the credibility of the company, the commitment of the brand, how sustainable is their business model, and how standardized their entire SOPs are. Is that something which has been standardized? Because efficiency would improve if your standardization is there. Third is your operating cost. What is the operating cost? Is there a reinvestment to be done? Reinvestment typically would happen in the stock, in the product, because our product rotate karta hai. So you need to reinvestment is required. Sometimes a lot of businesses don't need a initial lot of capex, but overall they need a big working capital ongoing. Right. So maybe a brand like FIHL, we launched that brand about a month and a half. That is India's leading distributor of, meat and fish products. They supply to 5-star hotels, railways, and many other corporates and institutions. Now, you don't require a big money to get a franchisee of FIHL. Maybe 10 lakhs, you can set up the entire investment. But as your business grows, because you have relationship with maybe Horeca, your relationship with hotels, so aapka thoda sa working capital requirement बढ़ जाता है, because you also give credit to these companies. So understand the nature of these businesses and how prepared you are to invest back. Then obviously is margins on the business, and margin, always compare apple to apple. Don't try to compare a margin of one category with another category. Even in the same industry, your margins will be very different. Integrated player अगर आपका है जो अपना खुद का back end आपका manufacturing करता है, procurement में उस पे economies of scale हैं, their margin would be very different to somebody who's just kind of taking the product and giving it to you. So integrated player, the margins are great. ROI is again a phenomena where a lot of people get mistaken कि मुझे तो इतना return of investment चाहिए, इतने साल में आना चाहिए. But that all has one rule. If you want to judge the ROI, always look at the horizon of the opportunity. उस opportunity का business का कितने साल का horizon है? 5 साल की opportunity है, 10 साल की opportunity है. अगर आप कोई पेट्रोल पंप लेते हैं, for example, वो 5 साल के लिए नहीं मिलता, आपको 15 साल, 20 साल, 30 साल का आपका agreement होता है. कोई भी आप K-12 स्कूल लेते हैं, उसका भी एग्रीमेंट आपका 15-20 साल का होता है. और कोई भी आपने स्कूल नहीं देखा होगा जो बंद हो गया है, while a lot of smaller businesses might still, get closed for various reasons, but when you look at businesses and opportunities like these, ऐसा नहीं कि hospital बंद हो गया, school बंद हो गया. Actually, you need to look at the longer horizon, and return of investment on investment is calculated based on how big the horizon is. If the opportunity size is only 5 years, if I take a preschool for that matter, or maybe a QSR or a food delivery, typical agreement terms आपके 5 साल के होते हैं, and your businesses start giving a return in about 2.5 years time. 2.5, 3 years में आपका return आपका आना शुरू हो जाता है. But operational break even should happen in about 6 months time. 6 months के अंदर your 3 to 6 months time के अंदर आपका सारा break even आपका शुरू हो जाता है business operations का. Then legal is another area which is very, very important, because India has no laws on franchising. So everything that becomes a part of the contract becomes a binding. At Franchise India, we have a legal team that works with our investors to help them vet these agreements and also sign these agreements with the company, followed by training, marketing support, which you must understand from the company. And especially, before I got on the webinar, I was doing a call with one of the investors who wanted to buy an international brand, Direct English. Now, this company is already operating in 20 countries, and they're looking for an area franchisee in India. So understand what training a company gives, because sometimes the company also offers training in their home country. Maybe they want to invite the partners to give them full-fledged training along with maybe their staff, which can come either virtually. So understand how their training happens. What is the entire schedule of training? Is there a training structure which they have for maybe any year, 2 year? How frequent is that? Is to be understood. And lastly is, how do the company hedge the risk? Because any investment I'm doing today as a franchisee myself, as a business owner, when I look at an investment in a franchise business, I'm doing that because I want to reduce my risk on investment. So understand how the company is reducing that risk. For example, a lot of product companies give you hedge your risk. जो भी आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है वो बोल देते हैं कि आपको इतना स्टॉक अगर होगा तो हम सारा का सारा वापस ले लेंगे. I'll give you a new stock, right? They can rotate stock maybe on their online platform. Sometimes they also have policies on, after closure, maybe taking stock back. So understand what their risk hedging structure is. Sometimes companies even give you rent. I recently launched a company called Two Wheeler from Pune, and they run these centers of refurbished two-wheelers in Pune, and they're all company owned. Now they're getting into partnerships with franchising. They're also offering, 1-2 months kind of a rental, so that the first 2 months of gestation, they can help and support a partner. So understand these from the companies, especially all these companies who are getting first time into franchising. They want to ensure that their franchise partners are successful. So what we do at Franchise India, friends, are next couple of things which I'll talk about. Next slide, please. So what our teams work with you is typically, so when you take services of a company, when I'm saying services, at Franchise India, I get about 1 lakh people inquiring every month for businesses, but it is impossible to put our personalized attention on every single business buyer who comes in. So we've created these services for somebody who wants to, who values our time and equally values the process that we follow. That's very, very important, right? For everybody else who just wants to maybe get information, we have a lot of free platforms, like my own website is free. You can log in to franchiseindia.com, see the businesses. We do every day 1 new launch of a webinar. So more than 1,000 companies have come and presented their business model. All that is available on YouTube and Facebook page of Franchise India. All that information is free. But this is something which requires our time, and somebody who respects that time and advice is something that we look forward to working with and putting our attention time. So this is a process that we follow, starting with the information stage. I understand your requirement, and based on that, I evaluate what business opportunities are right for you. And we take into consideration 4 fitments, which is SOMF fit that you see here, which means strategic fit. S stands for strategic fit, O stands for operation, M stands for market, and F stands for finance fit. So which means strategic would mean your property location, is that viable for running certain businesses? It could mean your profession, it means your education, your interest area, all that comes as a fitment here. Operational fit is the number of hours that you want to put in the business. And based on that, we kind of, extract businesses which are relevant. Then is the market fit. What businesses are relevant for your market? Brand ka rollout, aapka receptiveness of that particular opportunity in the market. And lastly is the finance fit, which means the capital that you have to invest, including even working capital that you need to have with you to run the business. So these are 4 fitments that we do: strategic, operational, market, and finance fit. And out of these 4, when I say I have 16,000 companies listed on the website, but when my teams and advisors start doing this evaluation based on these 4 fitments, I might not be able to give you more than 15-20 companies, because I know the closest to these 4 fitments, I need to find a right fitment. So give information on these companies. We go ahead and do your tri-party calls, visit to the center, outlet अगर आप visit करना चाहते हैं वो हमारी team facilitate करती है. We also get your meetings done with the decision makers, directors, promoters of these companies, followed by agreement LOI. So these are 4 stages, end to end our teams work. So as a registered investor with Franchise India, what you get is, next slide, please. You get certain numbers of dedicated hours that we commit, which means industry selection, you get 1 hour. Even your self-assessment, we put 1 hour. We also put our time to do minimum of 10 discovery days. 10 brand minimum, जो आपके इन 4 criteria पे fit होते हैं, we give those discovery days with you. Put our time in getting these meetings along with the promoters, leadership team of the company. And also any kind of legal advice that you need comes as a part of our structure. We also spend a larger part of our time in structuring the deal. Information you get on day one, what investment is, what royalties company charge, what margins you have. But structuring of deal is an art, which might be different depending on the format that you're taking. Maybe a go-to-market for that brand might be very different to what he has done in certain markets. So sometimes company even give a different deal for a market where they don't have a presence or they want to go deeper, right? So that is where a bigger role comes in. And also we work any kind of mediation which is required for anybody after the deal has taken place. But that can only happen if all the parties agree to, have us as a mediator. And any candidates, friends who want to even come on a call, I'm not telling you to get registered and say you work with me and I'll give you solutions. But if you think you want to speak to somebody in our team, take an advice, and then decide, you want to take these services, we're more than happy to get you on one-to-one call meetings with our teams, which are present in all cities in India. And most of the cities which I see that you put in the Q&A box, we already have our presence in. So how this actually, financially works out for us is a membership that you ideally take, which is a 25,000 membership for a period of 6 months, and 40,000 is something that comes for a period of 1 year. अगर आपको लगता है आपने अभी शुरू करना है, आप 25,000 का registration आप करा सकते हैं. And then there's a brokerage that comes to me, and that brokerage only comes when the business has been selected. Once I've done all these 4 stages with you and worked with you on all these 4 stages and signed up the deal, that's when this brokerage comes to us. So friend, this is what I had to share with you. I'll also request Harshika if we can maybe paste a link of the webinar, which is coming next at 12 o'clock, just in about 15 minutes time. Microgravity is the company, friends, which we are presenting today. And they're looking at options across India. This company also has some locations available. Airport pe location hai unka, Delhi mein bhi hai, I think Ahmedabad airport. Some locations they already have at airports and malls already, which they have, finalized with. So if you're interested to understand more on this opportunity, I'll request you to please copy this link and come and attend the webinar, which is starting exactly at 12 o'clock. I see some question, friends. So I'll request, because we're running out of time, if anybody wants to reach out, let me also put a WhatsApp and a hotline number, which is 9717683838 is the hotline number. I will also put my WhatsApp number 8800. You see that in the chat box. I'm also putting my email ID. If anybody wants to write, you can even write to me on this ID. And we are more than happy to do a one-to-one call. I know a lot of thoughts might be there in your mind, which you want to clarify. So we can do a no obligation meeting with you. Okay, Ananji, looking for something in Bangalore. I can fix up a meeting today if you're available with our teams in Bangalore. All right. So thank you so much, friends, for being with us. And we look forward to interacting with you one-to-one post the webinar. And anybody who wants to write to us can feel free to do so on the details that we have sent in the chat box. Thank you so much, friends, for being with us today. And I hope you have taken a copy of the link so you can copy this link quickly and get registered. It just takes maybe a few seconds for you to do so.